Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudev ki jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashitarashitashmar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pavishtam Ashitarashitashmar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashitarashitashmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashitarashitashmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Maha-Bhagavat Shri Gokshara Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Shri Satchit Ananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patita Shaguna Shar Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gopal Shada Vrinda ki jai. नामचय श्लहरस ठाकुर की जय. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय. सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जय. श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय. श्री मुनि देवी गंगा देवी की जय. श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय. श्री भक्ति देवी की जय. श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय. श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय. श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः. नमो विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणति नामिने. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने. वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिशे नमः. गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः. यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. शृण्वतं स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनं तन्तस्तो ह्यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतं. नष्टप्रयेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भगवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टकी. तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय राधे त्वं नायमं चरणान्तिकम्. भक्त्या विहीना अपराधलक्षाय क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितरङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वं शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम्. भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Dandavat pranams Madhavi Didi, Savitri Didi, Prajumna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, Indira Mataji, Raseshwari Mataji, Gargaraji, Rupmanjari Didi, Haribol. Sorry guys, I'm so late today. Today's probably the latest I've ever been. Anyhow, okay. So let's just see what we read yesterday. Alright, so the birth and activities of King Sagara. So now we're going through Rohit's dynasty. There's Rohit, then from him came Harita, then Champa, who constructed a city called Champapuri, Sudeva, Bahuka, Vrika, Bharuka, and Vijaya. Sorry, wrong way. Sudeva, and then Vijaya, then Bharuka, Vrika, and Bahuka. Bahuka's enemies took away all his possessions, so he took to Vanaprastha and entered the forest with his wife. When Bahuka died due to old age, one of his wives wanted to die with him, but Ordava Muni forbade her, as she was pregnant. But her envious co-wives fed her poison to kill the child. The poison didn't act, and the child was born with poison, Gara, so he was called Sagara, who became an emperor later. King Sagar, by the order of his guru, Ordava Muni, did not kill the uncivilized men like the Talajangas, the Yavanas, Shakas, Haihayas, and Barbaras. Instead, he made them look differently, dress awkwardly, half-shaved with mustaches, loose hair, without underwear, and without external garments. Sagar's sons offend Lord Kapila. With the instruction of Ordava Muni, Sagar performed many Ashwamedha yagyas to please Lord Hari, the soul of all Vedas. Lord Hari, the soul of all Vedas, sages, and devatas. But Indra, Purandar, stole the sacrificial horse. Sagar had two wives, Sumati and Keshini. Sumati had 60,000 sons who were proud of their prowess. While searching for the horse, as instructed by Sagar, they dug into the earth very extensively. Sagar's sons found the horse in the northeastern direction near Kapila Muni's ashram. Suspecting Kapila to be the thief, even though it was Indra, they shouted, "He is sinful! Kill him!" When they tried to attack Kapila Muni with raised weapons, the sage opened his eyes. By the influence of Indra, the sons of Sagar had lost their intelligence and disrespected a great personality. Due to their own misbehavior, fire emanated from their own bodies and they were burned to ashes. The wise do not accept that Sagar's sons were burned by the fire of Kapila's anger. Kapila's body purifies the entire universe, and it is in pure goodness. Anger and ignorance cannot exist in him. The sky cannot be polluted by earthly dust. Kapila Muni enunciated the Sankhya philosophy, which is a strong boat to cross the unsurpassable ocean of nescience for those who are eager for liberation. In such an omniscient person, the Supersoul, how can there be any distinction between enemy and friend? Then the story of Asamanjasa. Asamanjasa was the son of Sagar's second wife, Krishini. Asamanjasa's son was Anshuman, who always worked for the good of Sagar, his grandfather. In his past life, Asamanjasa was a yogi, but was fallen due to bad association. In this life, he was a jati smara, like he remembered his past life as a yogi. Yet he behaved like a miscreant, afflicted people, and threw sporting boys into river Sarayu. King Sagar exiled Asamanjasa due to his abominable activities. Asamanjasa, by his mystic power, brought all the dead boys to life, and then he left for Ayodhya. The citizens of Ayodhya were astounded, and Sagar lamented the absence of his son. Anshuman meets Lord Kapila and retrieves the horse. Thereafter, Sagar ordered Anshuman to search for the horse. Following the path dug by his uncles, Anshuman found the horse near a pile of ashes. Anshuman saw Lord Kapila there and offered him obeisances and prayers with folded hands. Anshuman's prayers to Lord Kapila. My lord, even Brahma, to this very day, couldn't understand your transcendental position by meditation or by logic. So what to speak of others like us, the sons of Sagar, who were created by Brahma and are in ignorance and identify like who are bound by bodily conception. Whatever. Oh, we're in bodily conception, whatever. Okay. Embodied beings are covered by the three modes. They only see actions and reactions of modes in waking, dream, and deep sleep states. Bewildered by Maya, they can't see you. They don't know you, who are situated in yourself. They only see external things. O Lord, you are concentrated knowledge. Sages like the Kumaras, who are freed from the modes, can realize you. How can ignorant persons like me think of you? O peaceful Lord, your transcendental names and forms are fully free from material modes, and you are beyond cause and effect. You assume forms to teach knowledge. I offer respects unto you, the primeval person. Those whose hearts are bewildered by lust, greed, envy, and illusion are attached to home, wife, and children, thinking them to be the only reality. They perpetually wander in this world created by your Maya. O Lord, soul of all beings, simply by seeing you I am freed from all lusty desires, the root cause of insurmountable illusion and bondage in this world. When Anshuman glorified Lord Kapila, the Lord mercifully explained to him the path of knowledge and said, Please take the sacrificial horse of your grandfather. Your uncles will be delivered only by Ganges water. Anshuman circumambulated Lord Kapila, offered him obeisances, and brought back the horse. Sagar then completed the sacrifice. Sagar gave the kingdom to Anshuman. Freed from material desires and bondage, Sagar followed the instructions of Ordva Muni and achieved the supreme destination. Then the dynasty of Anshuman. We're going to read about how Mother Ganges delivers Sagara's sons. And we're going to read half of this, the story of Saudasa. Okay. Is everything okay here? Looks like it. Hare Krishna, Kishore Prabhu, Rohit Radhakrishnanji, and Bhakti Yoga. Haribol. All right. So we're in chapter 9. Right? Pretty sure chapter 9. Yeah. The dynasty of Anshuman. This chapter describes the history of the dynasty of Anshuman up to Kartavanga. And it also describes how Bhagirat brought the water of the Ganges to this earth. The son of Maharaj Anshuman was Dilip, who tried to bring the Ganges to this world, but who died without success. Bhagirat, the son of Dilip, was determined to bring the Ganges to the material world, and for this purpose he underwent severe austerities. Mother Ganges, being fully satisfied by his austerities, made herself visible to him, wanting to give him a benediction. Bhagirat then asked her to deliver his forefathers. Although Mother Ganges agreed to come down to earth, she made two conditions. First, she wanted some suitable male to be able to control her waves. Second, although all sinful men would be freed from sinful reactions by bathing in the Ganges, Mother Ganges did not want to keep all these sinful reactions. These two conditions were subject matters for consideration. Bhagirat replied to Mother Ganges, The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shiva, will be completely able to control your the waves of your water. And when pure devotees bathe in your water, the sinful actions left by sinful men will be counteracted. Bhagirat then performed austerities to satisfy Lord Shiva, who is called Ashutosh because he is naturally satisfied very easily. Lord Shiva agreed to Bhagirat's proposal to check the force of the Ganges. In this way, simply by the touch of the Ganges, Bhagirat's forefathers were delivered and allowed to go to the heavenly planets. The son of Bhagirat was Shruta. The son of Shruta was Nabha, and Nabha's son was Sindhudvipa. The son of Sindhudvipa was Ayutayu, and the son of Ayutayu was Rituparna, who was a friend of Nala. Rituparna gave Nala the art of gambling and learned from him the art of Ashvavidya. The son of Rituparna was known as Sarvakama. The son of Sarvakama was Sudasa, and his son was Saudasa. The wife of Saudasa was named Damayanti, or Madayanti, and Saudasa was also known as Kalmashapad. Because of some defect in his fruitive activities, Saudasa was cursed by Vasishta to become a Rakshasa. While walking through the forest, he saw a Brahman engaged in sex with his wife, and because he had become a Rakshasa, he wanted to devour the Brahman. Although the Brahman's wife pleaded with him in many ways, Saudasa devoured the Brahman, and the wife therefore cursed him, saying, As soon as you engage in sex, you will die. After 12 years, therefore, even though Saudasa was released from the curse of Vasishta Muni, he remained sonless. At that time, with Saudasa's permission, Vishta impregnated Saudasa's wife, Madayanti. Because Madayanti bore the child for many years but still could not give birth, Vashishta struck her abdomen with a stone, and thus a child was born. The son was named Ashmaka. The son of Ashmaka was known as Balika. He was protected from the curse of Parshuram because of being surrounded by many women, and therefore he is also known as Nari Kavacha. Okay. When the entire world was devoid of kshatriyas, he became the original father of more kshatriyas. He is therefore sometimes called Mulaka. From Balika, Dasharath was born. From Dasharath came Aidavidi, and from Aidavidi came Vishwasaha. The son of Vishwasaha was Maharaj Katvanga. Maharaj Katvanga joined the demigods in fighting the demons and was victorious. And the demigods therefore wanted to give him a benediction. But when the king inquired how long he would live, and understood that his life would last only a few seconds more, he immediately left the heavenly planets and returned to his own abode by airplane. He could understand that everything in this material world is insignificant, and thus he fully engaged in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. Rup Manjari Didi, no, I think this is our Dasharath. Like this is the Dasharath, father of Ram. We're going to read about Ram in the next chapter. Shri Shuka Uvacha Angshumangscha Tapastepe Ganga Nayana Kamyaya Kala Mahantam Nashaknot Tata Kalena Sangstitaha. Shukadev Goswami continued, King Angshuman, like his grandfather, performed austerities for a very long time. Nonetheless, he could not bring the Ganges to this material world, and thereafter, in due course of time, he died. Dilipastad ashakta kalam eivan bhagiratastasya sutas tepe sumahatapa. Like Angshuman himself, Dilip, his son, was unable to bring the Ganges to this material world, and he also became a victim of death in due course of time. Then Dilip's son Bhagirat performed very severe austerities to bring the Ganges to this material world. Darshayam asatang devi prasanna varadasmite ityukta swam abhiprayam shanksham savanato nripa. Thereafter, Mother Ganges appeared before King Bhagirat and said, I am very much satisfied with your austerities, and am now prepared to give you benedictions as you desire. Being thus addressed by Ganga Devi, Mother Ganges, the king bowed his head before her and explained his desire. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The king's desire was to deliver his forefathers who had been burnt to ashes because of disrespecting Kapila Muni. Kopi dharaita vegam patantya me mahitale anyata bhutalang bitva nripayasya rasatalam. Mother Ganges replied, When I fall from the sky to the surface of the earth planet, the water will certainly be very forceful. Who will sustain that force? If I am not sustained, I shall pierce the surface of the earth and go down to Rasatala, the Patala area of the universe. Kim chaham na bhuvam yase naramayam rijantagam mrijami tar agham kwaham rajans tatra vichintyatam. O king, I do not wish to go down to the planet Earth, for there the people in general bathe in my water to cleanse themselves of the reactions of their sinful deeds. When all these sinful reactions accumulate in me, how shall I become free from them? You must consider this very carefully. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead says, Sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tang sarvapato mokshayishyami ma suchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. Bhagavad Gita 18:66. The Supreme Personality of Godhead can accept the reactions of anyone's sinful deeds and neutralize them because of his pavitra. Because he is pavitra, he is pure. He is like the sun, which is never contaminated by any worldly infection. Tejiyasam nadoshaya vahne samo bujo yataha. Bhagavatam 10:33-29. One who is very powerful is not affected by any sinful activity. But here we see that Mother Ganges fears being burdened with the sins of the people in general who would bathe in our waters. This indicates that no one but the Supreme Personality of Godhead is able to neutralize the sinful reactions, the reactions of sinful deeds, whether one's own or those of others. Sometimes the Spirit, after accepting a disciple, must take charge of that disciple's past sinful activities and, being overloaded, must sometimes suffer, if not fully, then partially, for the sinful acts of the disciple. Every disciple, therefore, must be very careful not to commit sinful activities after initiation. The poor spiritual master is kind and merciful enough to accept a disciple and partially suffer for that sinful activities. But Krishna, being merciful to his servant, neutralizes the reactions of sinful deeds for the servant who engages in preaching his glories. Even Mother Ganges feared the sinful reactions of the people in general, and was anxious about how she would counteract the burden of these sins. This is an important point. I'm going to just save this and put it on Facebook. Okay. Oops. How come it's not moving? Okay. Just pasting it here. There. Okay. Shri Bhagiratuvacha Sadhava Nyasina Shanta Brahmishta Lokapavana Harantyagam Tenka Sangat Teshvaste Yagabhidhari. Bhagirath said, "Those who are saintly because of devotional service and are therefore in the renounced order, free from material desires, and who are pure devotees, expert in following the regulative principles mentioned in the Vedas, are always glorious and pure in behavior, and are able to deliver all fallen souls. When such pure devotees bathe in your water, the sinful reactions accumulated from other people will certainly be counteracted, for such devotees always keep in the core of their hearts the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can vanquish all sinful reactions." Purport. Mother Ganges is available to everyone for bathing. Therefore, not only will sinful persons bathe in the Ganges water, but in Haridwar and other holy places where the Ganges flows, saintly persons and devotees will also bathe in the waters of the Ganges. Devotees and saintly persons advanced order can deliver even the Ganges. Tirti kurvanti tirtani svantastena gadapritaha. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1:13-10. Because saintly devotees always keep the Lord within the core of their hearts, they can perfectly cleanse the holy places of all sinful reactions. Therefore, people in general must always respectfully honor saintly persons. It is ordered that as soon as one sees a Vaishnava, or even a sannyasi, one should immediately offer respects to such a holy man. If one forgets to show respect in this way, one must observe a fast for that day. Whoa. This is a Vedic injunction. One must be extremely careful to refrain from committing offenses at the lotus feet of a devotee or saintly person. That's also a good quote. Okay. There are methods of prayashchitta or atonement, but they are inadequate to cleanse one of sinful reactions. One can be cleansed of sinful reactions only by devotional service, as stated in regard to the history of Ajamya. Kechit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva parayanaha aghang dhunvanti kartsnena niharam iva bhaskara. Only a rare person who has adopted complete unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility that they will revive. He can do this simply by discharging devotional service, just as the sun can immediately dissipate fog by its rays. It's Bhagavatam 6:1-15. If one is under protection of a devotee and sincerely renders service unto him, by this practice of bhakti yoga, one is certainly able to counteract all sinful reactions. Dharayashyati te vegham rudrasvatma sharirinam Yasmin Uttam Idang Prutam Vishvam Shati Vatantushu. Like a cloth woven of threads extending for its length and breadth, this entire universe, in all its latitude and longitude, is situated under the different potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Shiva is the incarnation of the Lord, and thus he represents the supersoul and the embodied soul. He can sustain the forceful waves on his head. Purport. The water of the Ganges is supposed to rest on the head of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who sustains the entire universe by different potencies. Lord Shiva is described in the Brahma Samhita 545. Kshiram yata vikara vishesha yogat sanjayate nahitata pritagasti heto yasham bhutam apitata samupaiti karyad govindamadi purusham tamham bhajami. Milk changes into yogurt when mixed with a yogurt culture, but actually yogurt is constitutionally nothing but milk. Similarly, Govinda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, assumes the form of Lord Shiva for the special purpose of material transactions. I offer my obeisances at Lord Govinda's lotus feet. Lord Shiva is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the same sense that yogurt is also milk, although at the same time it is not milk. For the maintenance of the material worlds, there are three incarnations: Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwar, Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is Vishnu in an incarnation for the mode of ignorance. The material world exists predominantly in the mode of ignorance. Therefore, Lord Shiva is compared here to the longitude and latitude of the entire universe, which resembles a cloth woven of threads extending for both its length and breadth. Ityuktva svanripo devam tapassatoshayachchivam kalenal piyasarajangs tashyeshas chashvatushyata. After saying this, Bhagirath satisfied Lord Shiva by performing austerities. O King Parikshit, Lord Shiva was very quickly satisfied with Bhagirath. Purport. The word Ashvatushyata indicate that Lord Shiva was satisfied very soon. Therefore, another name for Lord Shiva is Ashutosh. Materialistic persons become attached to Lord Shiva because Lord Shiva bestows benedictions upon anyone and everyone very quickly, not caring to know how his devotees prosper or suffer. Although materialistic persons know that material happiness is nothing but another side of suffering, they want it, and to get it, very quickly they worship Lord Shiva. We find that materialists are generally devotees of many demigods, especially Lord Shiva and Mother Durga. They do not actually want spiritual happiness, for it is almost unknown to them. But if one is serious about being spiritually happy, he must take shelter of Lord Vishnu, as the Lord personally demands. Sarva dharma parityaja amekam sharanam braja aham tang sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma suchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. Tateti ragyabhihitam sarvaloka hita shiva tadharava hito gangam padaputta jalam hare. When King Bhagirath approached Lord Shiva and requested him to sustain the forceful waves of the Ganges, Lord Shiva accepted the proposal by saying, "Let it be so." Then, with great attention, he sustains the Ganges on his head, for the water of the Ganges is purifying, having emanated from the toes of Lord Vishnu. Bhagirata Sarajarshir Nine Bhuvana Pavanim Yatra Svapitrinam Deha Bhasmi Bhutasma Sherate. The great and saintly King Bhagirath brought the Ganges, which can deliver all the fallen souls, to that place on earth where the bodies of his forefathers lay burnt to ashes. Ratena Vayuvegena Prayantam Anudhavati Deshan Punanti Nirdagdhan Asinchat Sagaratmajan. Bhagirath mounted a swift chariot and drove before Mother Ganges, who followed him, purifying many countries, until they reached the ashes of Bhagirath's forefathers, the sons of Sagar, who were thus sprinkled with water from the Ganges. Yajjala spashamatrena brahmadanda hata api sagaratmajadivam jagmu kevalam deha bhasmabhi. Because the sons of Sagar Maharaj had offended a great personality, the heat of their bodies had increased, and they were burnt to ashes. But simply by being sprinkled with water from the Ganges, all of them became eligible to go to the heavenly planets. What then is to be said of those who use the water of Mother Ganges to worship her? Purport. Mother Ganges is worshipped by the water of the Ganges. Mother Ganges is worshipped by the water of the Ganges. A devotee takes a little water from the Ganges and offers it back to the Ganges. When the devotee takes the water, Mother Ganges does not lose anything, and when the water is offered back, Mother Ganges does not increase. But in this way, the worshipper of the Ganges is benefited. Similarly, a devotee of the Lord offers the Lord patram pushpam palam toyam, a leaf, flower, fruit, or water, in great devotion. But everything, including the leaf, flower, fruit, and water, belongs to the Lord, and therefore there is nothing to renounce or accept. One must simply take advantage of the bhakti process, because by following this process, one does not lose anything, but one gains the favor of the Supreme Person. Bhasmi bhutanga sangena swaryata sagaratmajaha kim puna shraddhaya devim sevante ye drita vrataha. Simply by having water from the Ganges come in contact with the ashes of their burnt bodies, the sons of Sagara Maharaj were elevated to the heavenly planets. Therefore, what is to be said of a devotee who worships Mother Ganges faithfully with a determined vow? One can only imagine the benefit that accrues to such a devotee. That's a nice verse. Maybe I should try to memorize that. Na hitat paramashcharyam sardhunya yad ihoditam ananta charanam bhoja prasutaya bhavachidaha. Because Mother Ganges emanates from the lotus toe of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Anantadev, she is able to liberate one from material bondage. Therefore, whatever is described herewith about her is not at all wonderful. Purport. It has actually been seen that anyone who regularly worships Mother Ganges simply by bathing in her water keeps very good health and gradually becomes a devotee of the Lord. This is the effect of bathing in the water of the Ganges. Bathing in the Ganges is recommended in all Vedic Shastras, and one who takes to this path will certainly be completely freed from all sinful reactions. The practical example of this is that the sons of Maharaj Sagar went to the heavenly planets when the water of the Ganges merely touched the ashes of their burnt bodies. Sannivesho mano yasmin shraddhaya munayo mala traigunyam dustajam hitva sadhyatas atmatam. Great sages, completely freed from material lusty desires, devote their minds fully to the service of the Lord. Such persons are liberated from material bondage without difficulty, and become transcendentally situated, acquiring the spiritual quality of the Lord. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's a line missing. One second. Shruto bhagirataj jagye tasya nabho paro bhavat sindhu dvipastata tasmad ayutayustato bhavat rituparno nalasako yoshva vidyam ayam nalat Datvaksha hridayam chasmai sarvakamangstu tatsutam. Bhagirat had a son named Shruta, whose son was Nabha. This son was different from the Nabha previously described. Nabha had a son named Sindhudvipa. From Sindhudvipa came Ayutayu, and from Ayutayu came Rituparna, who became a friend of Nalaraj. Rituparna taught Nalaraj the art of gambling, and Nalaraj gave Rituparna lessons in controlling and maintaining horses. The son of Rituparna was Sarvakama. Purport. Gambling is also an art. Kshatriyas are allowed to exhibit talent in this art of gambling. By the grace of Krishna, the Pandavas lost everything by gambling and were deprived of their kingdom, wife, family, and home because they were not expert in the gambling art. In other words, a devotee may not be expert in materialistic activities. It is therefore advised in the Shastra that materialistic activities are not at all suitable for living entities, especially the devotees. A devotee should therefore be satisfied to eat whatever is sent as prasad by the Supreme Lord. A devotee remains pure because he does not take to sinful activities such as gambling, intoxication, meat eating, and illicit sex.
Can you see me?
No. Tata sudasastat putro damayanti patir nripa ahor mitra saham yangvai kalmashang grim uta kvachit vishishta shaparaksho bhur anapatya swakarmana. Oops. No, sorry. I didn't end on the right note. Sarvakama had a son named Sudasa, whose son, known as Saudasa, was the husband of Damayanti. Saudasa is sometimes known as Mitrasaha or Kalmashapar. Because of his own misdeed, Mitrasaha was sonless and was cursed by Shishta to become a man-eater, a Rakshasa. Shri Rajovacha King Nimitto Guru Shapa Saudasasya Mahatmana Etar Veditum Ichama Katyatang Naraho Yadi. Couldn't Vishta curse him to be something that didn't harm others? King Parikshit said, "O Shukadev Goswami, why did Vishishta, the spiritual master of Saudasa, curse that great soul? I wish to know of this. If it is not a confidential matter, please describe it to me." Shri Shuka Uvacha Saudaso Mrigayam Kinchit Charayan Raksho Jaghanaha Mumocha Bhrataram Sotha Gata Prati Chikirshaya Sanchintayan Aghang Ragya Sudarupa Dharo Grihe Gurave Bhoktukamaya Bhaktva Ninye Naramisham. Shukadev Goswami said, once Saudasa went to live in the forest, where he killed a man-eater, a Rakshasa, but forgave and released the man-eater's brother. That brother, however, decided to take revenge. Thinking to harm the king, he became the cook at the king's house. One day, the king's spiritual master, Vasishta Muni, was invited for dinner, and the Rakshasa cooked and served him human flesh. Yikes! Parivekshamanam Bhagavan Vilokya Bhakshaman Jasa Rajanam Ashapat Krudho Raksho Yevam Pavishyasi. While examining the food given to him, Vasishta Muni, by his mystic power, could understand that it was unfit to eat, being the flesh of a human being. He was very angry at this and immediately cursed Saudasa to become a man-eater. Rakshakritam tadviditva chakre dvadashavarshikam sopyapunjalimadaya gurung shaptum samudataha varito madayantyapo rushati padayorjaho dishakam avanim sarvam parsyan jiva mayam nripaha. When Vasishta understood that the human flesh had been served by the Rakshasa, not by the king, he undertook 12 years of austerity to cleanse himself for having cursed the faultless king. Meanwhile, King Saudasa took water and chanted the Shapa mantra, preparing to curse Vasishta, but his wife, Madayanti, forbade him to do so. Then the king saw that the 10 directions, the sky, and the surface of the globe were full of living entities everywhere. Rakshasam bhavamapanna pade kalma shatam gata vyavaya kalidadrishe vanoko dampati dvijo. Saudasa thus acquired the propensity of a man-eater, and received he received on his leg a black spot, for which he was known as Kalmashapad. Once King Kalmashapad saw a Brahmin couple engaged in sexual intercourse in the forest. One second. Kshudarto jagrihe vipram tatpatnyaha kritartavat na bhavan rakshasa kshakshad ishvakunam maharataha madayantya patirvira na dharmam kartumarhasi dehi me patyakamaya akritartam patim dvijam. Oops, one second. Being influenced by, one second, I just have to clear my throat. Being influenced by the propensity of a Rakshasa and being very hungry, King Saudasa seized the Brahmin. Then the poor woman, the Brahmin's wife, said to the king, "O hero, you are not naturally a man-eater. Rather, you are among the descendants of Maharaj Ikshvaku. Indeed, you are a great fighter, the husband of Madayanti. You should not act irreligiously in this way. I desire to have a son. Please, therefore, return my husband who has not yet impregnated me." Deho yam manusho rajan purushasya kilartada tasmad asya vado vira sarvartha vada uchate. O king, O hero, this human body is meant for universal benefits. If you kill this body untimely, you will kill all the benefits of human life. Purport. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung, Hari Hari Vipale Janama Govainu Manusha Janama Paya Radha Krishna Na Bhajeya Janiya Shuniya Vishakhainu. The body of a human being is extremely valuable because in this body one can understand the instructions of Krishna and attain the ultimate destination of the living entity. The living entity is within the material world to fulfill the mission of going back home, back to Godhead. In the material world, one hankers for happiness, but because one does not know the ultimate destination, one changes bodies one after another. However, if one gets the opportunity to possess a human form of body, in this body he can fulfill the 4 principles of Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. And if one is properly regulated, he makes further progress after liberation to engage in the service of Radha and Krishna. This is the success of life, to stop the process of repeated birth and death and go back home, back to Godhead, Mam Eti, to be engaged in the service of Radha and Krishna. Therefore, taking a human body is meant for completing one's progress in life. Throughout human society, killing of a human being is taken very seriously. Hundreds and thousands of animals are killed in slaughterhouses, and no one cares about them. But the killing of even one human being is taken very seriously. Why? Because the human form of body is extremely important in executing the mission of life. Esha hi brahmano vedvangs tapashila gunanvita ariradhayashur brahma mahapurusha sangitam sarvabhutatma bhavena bhuteshvantarhitam gunai. Here is a learned, highly qualified Brahman, engaged in performing austerity and eagerly desiring to worship the Supreme Lord, the Supersoul who lives within the core of the heart in all living entities. Purport. The wife of the Brahmin did not regard her husband as a superficial Brahmin who was called a Brahmin merely because he was born of a Brahmin family. Rather, this Brahmin was actually qualified with the Brahminical symptoms. Yasya proktam Bhagavatam 7:11-35. The symptoms of a Brahman are stated in Shastra. Shamodamas tapakshocham kshantir arjavam evacha jnanam vijnanam astikyam brahma karma svabhavajam. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, wisdom, knowledge, and religiousness. These are the qualities by which the Brahmins work. It's Bhagavad Gita 18:42. Not only must a Brahmin be qualified, but he must also engage in actual Brahminical activities. Simply to be qualified is not enough. One must engage in Brahman's duties. The duty of a Brahmin is to know the Param Brahma, Krishna, Param Brahma Paradharma, Pavitram Paramam Pavan. Because this Brahmin was actually qualified and was also engaged in Brahminical activities, Brahma Karma, killing him would be a greatly sinful act, and the Brahmin's wife requested that he not be killed. Soyam Brahmarshi Varyaste Rajarshi Pravarad Vibho Katam Arhati Dharmagya Vadhang Pitur Ivatmajaha. My lord, you are completely aware of the religious principles. As a son never deserves to be killed by his father, here is a Brahmin who should be protected by the king and never killed. How does he deserve to be killed by a Rajarshi like you? Purport. The word Rajarshi refers to a king who behaves like a rishi or a sage. Such a king is also called Naradeva because he is considered a representative of the Supreme Lord. Because his duty is to rule the kingdom to maintain Brahminical culture, he never desires to kill a Brahmin. Generally, a Brahmin, a woman, child, old man, or cow is never regarded as punishable. Thus, the wife of a Brahmin requested the king to refrain from this sinful act. Tasya sador apapasya brunasya brahmavadina katam vadham yata bhabror manyate sanmato bhavan. You are well known and worshipped in learned circles. How dare you kill this Brahmin, who is a saintly, sinless person, well versed in Vedic knowledge? Killing him would be like destroying the embryo within the womb, or killing a cow. Purport. As stated in the Amar Kosh dictionary, Brunor Pakke Bala Garbe. The word Bruna refers either to the cow or to the living entity in the embryo. According to Vedic culture, destroying undeveloped embryo of the soul in the womb is as sinful as killing a cow or a Brahmin. In the embryo, the living entity is present in an undeveloped stage. The modern scientific theory that life is a combination of chemicals is nonsense. Scientists cannot manufacture living beings, even like those born from eggs. The idea that scientists can develop a chemical situation resembling that of an egg and bring life from it is nonsensical. Their theory that a chemical combination can have life may be accepted, but these rascals cannot create such a combination. This verse refers to Brunasya Vadham, the killing of a Bruna, or destruction of the embryo. Here is a challenge from the Vedic literature. The crude atheistic understanding that the living entity is a combination of matter belongs to the grossest ignorance. Okay, we're ending with this verse. Yadayam kriyate bhakshyas tarhimam khadapurvata na jivishe vinayena kshanam cha mritakam yata. Without my husband, I cannot live for a moment. If you want to eat my husband, it would be better to eat me first, for without my husband, I am as good as a dead body. Purport. In the Vedic culture, there is a system known as sati, or saha maran, in which a woman dies with her husband. According to this system, if the husband dies, the wife will voluntarily die by falling in the blazing funeral pile of her husband. Here in this verse, the feelings inherent in this culture are expressed by the wife of the Brahmin. A woman without a husband is like a dead body. Therefore, according to Vedic culture, a girl must be married. This is the responsibility of her father. A girl may be given in charity, and a husband may have more than one wife, but a girl must be married. This is Vedic culture. A woman is supposed to be always dependent. In her childhood, she is dependent on her father, in her youth on her husband, and in old age on her elderly sons. According to Manu Samhita, she is never independent. Independence for a woman means miserable life. In this age, so many girls are unmarried and falsely imagining themselves as free. But their life is miserable. Here is an instance in which a woman felt that without her husband, she was nothing but a dead body. Okay, it's 8:30. I'm just reading this. Being condemned by the curse of Vashishta, King Saudasa devoured the Brahman exactly as a tiger eats its prey. Even though the Brahman's wife spoke so pitiably, Saudasa was unmoved by her lamentation. When the chaste wife of the Brahman saw that her husband, who was about to discharge semen, had been eaten by the man-eater, she was overwhelmed with grief and lamentation, and thus she angrily cursed the king. So we'll find out the details of what happened tomorrow. It's a pretty intense way to end our reading today. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. I'm just going to do a quick Jaidvani today. Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Gandavika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govina Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Nitil Vishnu Vishpajala Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Guru Dev Ki Jai, Nitil Vishnu Vishpajala Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitil Vishnu Vishpajala Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitil Vishnu Vishpajala Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitil Vishnu Vishpajala Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srila Gokshara Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai, Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shara Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaur Mandal Vraja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Yamuna Kund Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo, Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai, Shri Ganga Devi Ki Jai, Bhagirath Maharaj Ki Jai. Vrindai Tulsi Devai, Priyai Keshavashacha, Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi, Sattvatai Namo Namaha. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Alright, Dandavat Pranams everybody. Sorry I read extra quickly today because I started 10 minutes late. I've never started that late before, I don't think. Maybe I did. Oh yeah, that must be a different Dasharath, but who is his son? Yeah, that's the thing. It says Aidavidi, not Ram. Yeah, so I actually don't know the answer to that. I just remember watching the Ramayana series, and there's a part where who tells Ram? Was it Vishwamitra? I can't remember who tells Ram, but he tells him his family lineage, and then he tells the whole story. It's in the Ramayana serial. Maybe we could watch that tomorrow for our introduction, our recap. But yeah, I actually don't know the answer to that. So, whoa, that's really fascinating, Prajumna Prabhu. Babylon. Oh, and Ramanjari Didi, was that really cringe when I did that? Because yeah, I tried not to overdo it, but yeah, I did try to talk in a more feminine voice when the Brahmin's wife was speaking. But if that's really cringe, I don't want to do that. I don't want to. Like Srila Prabhupada somewhat directing the purport, dryly directing the purport as. I mean, so many ladies are single and independent. Like all the Ganga Matas, all the ladies working in GVP, and so many of my friends, there's like Kishore, there's so many people like that. Anyways, but yeah, she was a very good wife. Alright. Okay. Maybe it's cute for some and cringy for others, though. I don't know. Alright. Dandavat pranams, everybody. See you all tomorrow. Jai Shri Radhe. Oh, and tomorrow, I think we'll just start speaking about Ram. Like, we'll just do the introduction for the Ram part. Oh, okay. That was about the purport about sins burdening our Guru Varga. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I want to share that quote on Facebook. All right. I remember there being another quote like that, another purport like that. I think it was even stronger at that point. In one of our readings, a previous canto, but I can't remember where it was. All right, Dandavat pranams, everybody. See you all tomorrow.